All right, what's going on, everybody? Hook here. So it's been a while. I know it's been a while, and I apologize. I've been kind of busy, but I did want to finally get some new content up. This is actually a reply to a friend of mine who's thinking about buying an Oculus Rift, and he was wondering how the Oculus Rift performed in Lockheed Martin's P3D. So for those of you who don't know, P3D is made by Lockheed Martin, by their studio or whoever, and it's basically based on Flight Simulator X and sold as a training tool. But so if you buy it, it's supposed to be used for training. That's how they don't compete directly with Microsoft as far as using the sim. But anyways, they recently added Oculus Rift support, which is something I didn't expect. And I know I've got a few Rift owners as subscribers, and most of the time you guys are tuned in for DCS content, which is my go-to. But I did want to check out the Rift use in P3D in response to John, my friend who wants to see how it performs, and to let you guys who hadn't seen it yet or didn't know P3D had Rift support, check it out. So right now, we're standing next to the Springfield Air Race Association's GB Racer. I've had a video in the past talking about how this plane was very, what's the word for it? Sentimental, I guess, to me, because as a young kid years ago, this plane, the GB itself, was one of the planes that just, I don't know, made me want to be a pilot. I saw it in a movie at the time. I was real young, and wasn't really interested in aviation before that. And then I saw this crazy looking plane, which, by the way, with the Rift, I feel like is right in front of me right now. And I fell in love. I just, wanted to be a pilot. And years later, here I am, a sim pilot and a real one. So, it's funny how little things can change your life, even as a kid, but not to get off on a sentimentality trip. I did want to do a Rift video with the GB. This is made by Alabeo, I believe. I wanted to do one with the GB because this is just such a crazy plane in general, and even more so to experience in the Rift. So right now we're standing outside of it. This is just showing off the Rift's tracking capability. You can kind of go behind the plane. There is a little bit of clip through you can see in that left corner. And by the way, I'm sorry the screen looks so weird. It's the only way I can capture P3D wearing the Rift right now. So just try to bear with me. But there's a little clip through on the edge of the lenses where the textures, the virtual world isn't getting along with the Rift yet. And I'll say up front, P3D is not even close to DCS and Rift implementation. It's got a ways to go. In fact, some of the problems with P3D are that it's still very CPU bound. So because of that, when the Rift makes its demands on the CPU, which it always does, and then P3D does, especially if you're flying a very complicated aircraft, like Majestic Software's Dash 8, which has a completely external from P3D or FSX flight sim or flight model calculation, it can really start to perform badly with the Rift. So P3D and Lockheed Martin have a way to go before they get close to DCS or a native Rift app. That being said, it's usable. It surprised me they even did it, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what this experience is like. So anyway, right now I'm showing off the Rift's tracking capability. I have one little sensor on my desk, not even pointed at me, and somehow it tracks my movements perfectly. I'm even walking back to the tail section here, the vertical stabilizer. And you'll see as I move really far away from the sensor, there's a little bit of a slip, but it's still somehow tracking my head movements. But I feel like I could grab this tail structure here. It feels like it's right there. And it's something to behold. Now that the Rift has added Oculus Touch multi-sensor support, maybe I'll be able to do a full, pre-flight walk around on this thing. But we're going to climb in the canopy here. Now, in the real GB, this whole section's removable. You can see the hinges right there. I've only seen one GB in real life, and sadly, I didn't get to fly it, of course. But this section comes off entirely, and then they put it on after you're in the cockpit. I think external crew has to put it on for you. So we're going to clip through it, so forgive that. Suspend your disbelief here for a second. All right. We're now in the cockpit, and a little flight control check. And immediately I'm struck by how small the GB's cockpit is and how shitty your visibility is. Now I can tell that there's a big long nose in front of me. Fortunately, there's a little clipping. If I lean my head back, I clip through the firewall behind me. So that's not really the Rift's fault. That's just kind of the way the software is right now. But I can feel this little dome bubble around me. I feel like I could catch my head on these screws. So it's very impressive. It's really cool. My frame rate is holding at about 45 or 50 from peeking through my nose gap. So we're going to go ahead and start this thing up. All right, so got the master battery and the alternator on. And I am using my Satec controls for this. Now, I have had some skeptics tell me, you know, how could you possibly use external controls with the Rift? And really, it's by feel. If you know where they are, you can do it. Some things like a gear handle are super easy, and if it's a HOTAS, then it's really no problem. So, you know, it's definitely worth the price of having to reach around a little bit and figure things out. So we're going to see if we can start this thing real quick. Come on, GB. That's not good. She don't want to start at all, does she? And I'm starting to wonder if the empty fuel tank is the reason for that. Okay, well, let's turn off the fuel pump, because all we're doing right now is sucking air. Let's see here. Okay, fuel pump's off. All right, well, this gives me a chance to showcase something that's really great about the Rift and P3D, and this is something I would like to see in other titles like DCS. If I just right-click on the main screen here, and I go to, gotta find my mouse cursor. There we go. If I go to, you know, Cockpit, Virtual Cockpit, boom. It's got the 2D cockpit right in front of me. I'm taking off the Rift now, and I can just, you know, fly normally. Now, one problem is, you know, going from this to the Track IR will be an issue, because Track IR and Rift, they don't get along well. If you have the Track IR and the Rift running at the same time, then there is a conflict between the software, and the Rift is going to pop around on you. I've not seen any adverse problems with the Track IR. Just the Rift. The Rift can't handle the Track IR. So anyway, we got some fuel in the tanks now, and I'm going to put the Rift back on here. And we're going to go down to Virtual Reality, Oculus Virtual Cockpit. And then we'll snap it in here. And let's see if we can get this thing started one more time. All right, it's the fuel pump. There she goes. All right. Okay. I'll say up front, the GB, even in P3D and FSX, although their flight model computations aren't as complicated as some other sims, the GB is a freaking handful. So we're going to see if we can handle this thing here. Alright, gently adding power. Really cannot see at all where we're going, so I'm just going to have to use my peripheral to stay on the runway. We'll try my best anyway. Okay, there she goes. Starting to crab on me, but we got her airborne. Okay. And as you just saw there, every once in a while with the Rift I get a little bit of a screen tear. It's not super common, but it does happen, especially with more demanding newer planes. We're going to go ahead and try to work the pattern. Right now we're over Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I live in Wyoming, and right now this is still kind of how Wyoming looks, but not for much longer. It's going to be snowy pretty soon. We've already had one snow for the year. So, you know, one thing that's always lagged behind in FSX and P3D compared to other sims, even IO2 back when it was a contemporary in a way, was depth perception. I never felt like I had a good sense of depth perception in FSX or P3D, but the Rift changes that the way, because, you know, you're in true 3D. So when I look out over my wing, I feel that distance between myself and the ground, and it's just awesome. Now let's talk about clarity. Now, looking right here, I can easily read my wet compass. I see I'm headed due west. I can see I'm flying at 280 knots. My altitude looks like I'm currently at just about 7,600 and flying. My VSI says I'm flying at 2,000 feet per minute. So no issues reading those major gauges. Now, I do not have the clarity I have in DCS, so I have to lean in to see my PSI and oil pressure and then my fuel level. I do have to lean in for that. And that's simply because I cannot turn the pixel density up in P3D, at least not to my knowledge. And pixel density is really important. Now, even if I did turn my pixel density up, I'm not sure if I could, I'm not sure I'd want to. And the reason for I felt that in my gut. The reason for that being is I'm not sure P3D could handle it. So where it is right now might be a good spot for it. Again, talking about the good things, you see and appreciate details about this plane and other planes that you never would appreciate in a 2D cockpit. Just never would. And the smoothness is pretty good. The actual movement of the terrain into the plane looks good. Things from distance seem to move the way they should. That's something that seems to catch other titles sometimes, and it's sometimes tied to frame rates, whereas you'll see the scenery or something in the background jerking a little bit, and that's actually working pretty well. And I'll talk about the negatives here now. Again, I do get a tear sometimes. I've never touched my performance settings, so this is just like I'd use it on a monitor. I have them turned up very high. So maybe that's something I could change by changing my settings a little bit. We're going to do a low pass. This is a treacherous plane to land, so I'm just going to do a low pass here and get a feel for it. So that's a problem. Another issue, and this is more FSX and P3D in general, is even with paid upgraded scenery like I'm using now, the actual texture resolution, oh shit, it shows its age. So, and you see that more in the Rift. You notice the lower resolution textures of the ground and of the scenery more with the Rift. Even though the Rift may not be able to accomplish the same resolution level that a monitor could, somehow in that 3D environment you just pick up on things more. You know, things kind of pop a little bit more, or maybe don't pop in some cases where they're simply textured. So that's something you'll notice. Now the good part is the aircraft models. So they do look really good. Some of them are better than others. The paid stuff is usually going to be better depending on the company. But the cockpit and the model here, and then IFR, unintentional IFR, and this plane is not IFR rated. So this will be interesting. Watch my VSI. We'll test my instrument flying ability. Anyways, so the cockpit of this plane just looks great. It's really cool. And we're going to go ahead and try to put her on the ground here. I think I've given enough to give P3D or Rift owners who either have P3 or are thinking about it enough of an idea to see what's going on. Let's talk about the biggest problem with P3D and Rift right now. That is that you have no virtual mouse cursor. You have no look cursor or laser pointer like you do in DCS, or even a free mouse cursor you can move when wearing the Rift. You simply don't have a mouse cursor to my knowledge. And that's really bad. That means everything has to be HOTAS or on a panel that you can do by feel. The laser pointer cursor in DCS is just awesome. And look at the windsock real quick. I'm in love with it, and it's inseparable. You know, I use it so much. So Lockheed Martin, if you see this video, if you care, please put a laser pointer cursor, even just a mouse 3D cursor in this game, in this sim, to make the Rift really worth its salt. Because right now, that really holds you back. And if you don't have everything on HOTAS, you're going to have a really hard time. So, no more delaying, no more getting out of it. Now I have to see if I can land this thing. And it is no joke. It is no joke at all. This plane is very difficult to land. So we're really going to try to watch that VSI and our airspeed here. We're pretty darn fast. In fact, I could probably just idle it right now, considering how quick we're going. This plane really sinks, man. You really start slipping. Okay, I might be getting a little too slow for this plane. Okay, really watching that VSI, very sensitive in the elevator axis, and we're looking to do a porpoise right there if I don't arrest that. Easy, come on. Jeez, we got to be running out of runway. Okay, yeah, we did porpoise just a little bit. That's the 1,000-foot marker, so we're going to full power and go around here. I'm just going to execute a little 180, get back to the runway. Got to hand it to Alabeo here. I've never flown a GB, but I've heard that it's a death trap, and this thing feels like a death trap, so if they were going for that, they accomplished it for sure. She seemed to like about 100 knots. We'll see if we can do that on our approach again. This is not at all a legal traffic pattern by FFA standards, or FAA standards. I think the FFA cares, unless you're landing in the field. Easy, easy, easy. There we go. Just watching that VSI, really trying to keep that scan up. There we go. That was it. That was the one. We did porpoise though, didn't we? But it's a manageable porpoise. No, maybe not. That's 3. We could be in real trouble. Okay. We got to get this plane on the ground. Come on, baby. Stop. Stop. I can't see anything, but I know we're running out of runway and we're still at 40 knots. Stop, you big fat fuck. Oh, there's the threshold. Oh, we did it. We survived. All right, so the real thing, no way in hell you would want to porpoise like that. The gear would collapse on you. But the heck with it. I don't know how to fly a GB, and I never will fly one. But with the Rift, this is as close as I'll ever get, and it's pretty darn close when you're sitting in that cockpit and you feel it around you. So anyways, hope this helps you guys that have thought about trying P3D at the Rift or thinking about the Rift in general. My verdict is I would not buy the Rift just for P3D. Definitely would not do that. But if you have a Rift and you like sims, it's worth checking out, especially since you can fly it in 2D too. If you can still bring yourself to do that. I have a hard time. So anyway, I guess that's all I got for now. I'll be bringing more DCS videos and content to you guys soon. Lots coming up next month. Pretty exciting month. I can't talk about it yet, but for you guys who are a fan of my Grudge Match series, which I've held 2 rounds so far for the DCS community, got a big surprise coming up there next month, I think. And as far as channel update stuff goes, just been really busy, guys, so I apologize for the lack of content. My civilian side of things is keeping me super busy, and I've had a lot going on with the military stuff too. So anyway, apologies for that, but I do have a 1080 by EVGA in my rig now, so really the best case scenario for the Rift, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit because it's an experience I want to share. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry the views sucked so much, but you know, it's what we got to work with. So see you guys next time, and thanks for checking it out.